It may feel as though gaming has become stagnant in recent times, with AAA games often having to take up so much time to finish, or to not be able to meet the high expectations that they're met up with before launch. But this doesn't happen to all gaming genres. Some can still have massive hits that are definitive of their genre, if not redefining of it. But there's one genre that unfortunately hasn't seen one in a very long time. Some releases have come close, others missed the mark by a long margin, yet the reality still remains that it hasn't seen the same amount of success as it used to, that it struggles to find its footing in the modern gaming market, one that it once had during the days of old. And it is a genre that is near and dear to my heart, a genre that defined my entire childhood, my music taste, my personality, and just about everything there is to know about me. And that genre is none other than the legendary genre of racing games.
I was right, people. Darius Flint really is approaching Horizon right now. The word is, he's already racing. But hey, it doesn't matter who you are or what you're driving. Bring your ride and just get here now. Come on!
I was 4 years old when I played my first racing game ever. Now I have a really good memory of things, so I even remember some mental snapshots in my head from when I first picked it up. I remember seeing some of the PlayStation 3 games perched up on the shelves in the Best Buy on Cambie Street in Vancouver, Canada, the day that we went to buy the PlayStation 3 for Christmas, which was the first console I ever played on and the start on my very own personal history with gaming. And there were two games in particular that I bought with that console. The first was Sonic 06, which I bought separately, and the second was a game that came with the console itself, which was the one and only MotorStorm. MotorStorm was the first racing game I ever owned and played, and even until now, 17 years after I first bought the game, the disc still works on my super slim PS3. But with MotorStorm's gritty aesthetic, heavy-hitting soundtrack, and its eclectic gameplay, with destruction, obstacles, and corners to constantly watch out for, it made for a definitive racing game experience, and one that made for a great introduction to what this genre truly had to offer. At the time, I obviously would have never even realized it, but these games were about to not only shape my entire childhood, but would influence my interests, my passions, and even my music tastes far more than I would have ever even imagined. And everything about me was all about to change forever.
Go off! That's the final product, cruise driving right there, baby!
Growing up, my interest in car culture wasn't just influenced by the many racing games I played as a kid, but a part of it came from my older brother, as he was also a car guy himself. And growing up, I would visit him in Jordan and I would sit in the back of his 1990s Dodge Ram, and hell, he even drifted in the middle of the intersection with me in the back seat once, which was a very fun time. And it just so happened that this Dodge Ram was much like the one in the original Twister movie. My brother also had a model of the Mitsubishi Eclipse from the early Fast and Furious movies, and he even gifted me a black Lamborghini Aventador Mouse when he came to Vancouver after his uni years in London. Now, these may have been small details that I took from my brother, but they were still very important ones that led to why I personally fell in love with the racing game genre. And one of the key reasons I even developed that interest in the first place was because of how connected these things all were to the genre that I played and loved. And to me, racing games just felt like the least nerdiest gaming genre out there, and I don't know how else to describe it other than that, honestly. And I say this because of the fact that racing games just felt more connected to the real world than the vast majority of games out there. And not to sound tone deaf or to say that no other genre can effectively connect the real and virtual worlds together, because there are very much others that do that, such as GTA for example. But let me explain what I mean by this. When you look at games like God of War or Overwatch or even Elden Ring, they're all amazing games in their own respective fields, with each having different mechanics, traits, and flares that they not only use to distinguish themselves, but to also bolster their own identities and further reinforce what makes them so special to play as video games. But all of these games have one specific thing in common with each other, and that is that their atmospheres are purely fictional. You see, when you look at these games, they represent a world full of characters and ideals that are far removed from the real world. They're restricted to their predefined universes and these worlds that just don't have much to do with the world we live in. They're purely fictional. Like, you can't just go outside and do the shit that happens in those games. You can't pummel these fictional monsters, nor can you ever meet the characters that are featured in these games. Like, their worlds aren't tangible with real life. And is that to say I don't find these games fun at all? No, these games are all great in their own respective ways and deserve nothing but the utmost respect. And before you say I'm way too tone deaf, allow me to explain what makes racing games different to those that I just previously mentioned.
Hey, if there's 3, do I get one? I mean, I don't care which one, although I am partial to the one with the sweet rims.
Why don't you just make sure the tanks are filled?
That's great. I'm the machine!
Racing games, on the other hand, do have a connection with the real world. Well, the vast majority of them do. There are some that don't, but the point being is that most of them do. And the cars that you drive in these games are cars that can be found in the real world. You can go outside and see them parked up next to your house. You could go to a car meet and see them parked up next to a bunch of other high-end luxury cars or JDM cars, and even chat with some others to get a better idea of the cars that they bring to these events. Or better yet, you can even go to a local auto show where they not only have the latest cars, but even concept cars that are set to release in the near future, which can also be featured on prominent racing game franchises such as Forza or Gran Turismo. And these games aren't just confined to their fictional space, and what I mean by that is, for instance, let's say I'm playing Gran Turismo 5 right now. I decide to head to the Nissan Premium Car dealership in the game and buy me a nice car to drive. A nice 370Z, for instance. I can play with it on whatever tracks are included in the game I please, and I can drive it over and over, which can perhaps allow it to become one of my favorite cars ever made. What I can also do after this is pause my game or even turn off my entire console, walk outside my place, and I can see the same car that I was driving within the game right in front of my own house. And that's what I love so much about racing games, because this is really the point that I'm trying to get at. That these games aren't just racing games that we'll play over and over because we enjoy them loads, but rather because it is a world in itself that opens the gates to a larger world. One that it not only heavily draws inspiration from, but one that is quite literally based in the real world. It came from the real world. And racing games can birth and spur the passion and interest needed to get others invested into the automotive world. But that's point number one. Point number two has to do with the style of racing games. The style. And some can not only feel like proper racing games, but they can also feel like products of their time. And what I mean by this isn't because of how dated the graphics can be, but rather how old its style can be. Because some games aren't just made to be great race games, but rather an insight to how pop culture was like at a specific period in time. The cars, the customization, the aesthetic, all the way down to the soundtrack. Some games can capture the once popular trends of their time. And when I think about racing game franchises that have done this very well, there's all but two racing game franchises that come to mind, and those being none other than the legendary franchises of Need for Speed and Midnight Club.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Now, when I tell you guys that these two series were the most stylish racing game franchises on the market, man, these games were the definition of 2000s racing game flair. These games not only had great gameplay, but if there was anything that made these games what they were, it was style. Again, style. And truthfully, in tandem with the gameplay, it's what made these games as special as they are. I mean, just look at the Need for Speed Underground games. Look at the selection of cars they have, the customization, deliveries, the damn main menu aesthetics, the places where the cars are shown on the main menu, the atmospheres of both the closed world and open world games of Need for Speed Underground and Underground 2 respectively. And of course, the soundtrack. One of the key factors as to why these games were as memorable as they are to me. To tell you the truth, racing game soundtracks were not just my childhood, and they not only vividly remind me of it, but they were also soundtracks that would go on to shape and define my entire music taste, even until now. And I may have never even realized this as a kid, but looking back at them now, do I truly see how much influence my taste in music took from these games, and how they also shape parts of my personality that last to this day. I mean, the aggressive, punchy songs that these games harbored mainly consisted of music from three different genres: rock, electronic, and hip-hop. The holy trinity of genres that shaped my elementary school, middle school, high school, and undergrad years. Now, am I saying that my music taste is incredibly distinct from others and unique in its own fashion? Fuck no, not in the slightest. I'm just saying that because this is my music taste. And that's really about it if I'm being honest. Like, there's nothing much to it other than that, honestly. These soundtracks were timeless, so much so that I still listen to some of the songs from some 2000s and early 2010s racing game soundtracks. And here are some of my favorites.
With wholesale prices on for the hustlers, for the customers. Trust the buzz. I had you making one of them sounds that Buster does. Now I can see the way you're looking at me. Wanna fight with me. Be my little rock and roll queen. Be my little rock and roll queen.
This was the music that would go on to shape my entire music taste, and made for one of the more crucial reasons as to why I still love this genre of video games years after I left my childhood. But of course, in recent times, unfortunately, this genre has almost felt like a remnant of the past. that there's not a lot of racing games that come out anymore, and if there are any that do, it's either that 1, they aren't good, or 2, that they're not just as good as the genre-defining games that came out in the 2000s. And truthfully, that's just depressing to even say. That a genre that used to be so popular and one that has so much potential cannot improve or innovate past 20-year-old games that fans of the genre like myself still play to this day. Like, take the modern Need for Speeds for instance. They're all games that genuinely have so much potential in them to be all-time classics and genre-defining as ever. But yet, they always come so short. So short. And part of the reason they come so short is because in certain fields, they failed to implement certain features that were done so well 2 entire decades ago. 2 decades ago! I mean, like, come on, what is this? For example, take 2017's Need for Speed Payback. Possibly one of the most underwhelming entries in the series with the most god-awful voice acting I've honestly ever heard in a AAA video game. Like, what the fuck were the characters even saying? Like, how did they even validate this shit?
Looks like you made it to the starting line after all.
And I'm here to take you down.
Like, it just doesn't make any sense how the hell they validated that shit or even fucking greenlighted it in the first place. Like, it's just so awful. Like, how the hell do you listen to this shit and just sign off on it?
Alright, time to show the house we're back.
Are you kidding? Now get the fuck out of here.
Get the fuck out.
Get the fuck out of here.
Let's
Y'all
move
lose
on.
by 200.
Let's
Stop.
move on. Let's
And not to mention, there was an upgrade system that was largely influenced by the greedy scumbag loot box systems that were implemented by EA at the time. And most notably in Battlefront 2, in order to leech more money for full-price games that they made into pay-to-win ones. And this entry in particular tried to improve upon the cops in Need for Speed 2015 and aimed to make them more aggressive towards the player in order to make the cop chases more intense. And truthfully, they did do that. Like, all credit to them, like, they actually did do that. Like, they landed on that promise. The game did have some positives to it, such as added customization, nice open world map, and improved drift physics that made the drift events in the game very fun and satisfying to play. However, when it came to the cops, they weren't available in free roam like they were in 2005's Most Wanted. No, they were only available via bait crates, which consists of you having to deliver a crate from one point to another with the cops on your tail. But as much as they were improved in this game, they honestly couldn't even operate past the pre-existing routes that the bait crates have. They're rather only limited to it. Even though this was later fixed and refined in Heat, and even on Bound, it still shows that this genre in the present day is struggling to fix and refine mechanics that were literally perfected 2 decades ago. That's quite frankly depressing, if you ask me. As of right now, the genre has been quite lackluster in comparison to the genre's golden age in the 2000s. Need for Speed has now been shelved by Criterion so that they can work on Battlefield 6, and now with the news that Criterion has now become a Battlefield studio that apparently isn't here to talk about the past, Need for Speed has now been discontinued by Criterion for the foreseeable future, and a probable return for this franchise is now more uncertain than ever. However, there are still glimpses of hope in this genre. The most recent Tokyo Extreme Racer was met with immensely positive feedback and being seen as a breath of fresh air in a rather stagnant genre. With its customization, car list, and a stunning driving atmosphere based mainly in Tokyo's most prominent highways, it makes for one of the most refreshing games the genre has seen in quite a long time. And with Forza Horizon 6 finally taking place in the highly requested Japan, there's hope that things could be better, even though the genre in question hasn't been booming as much as it used to. But regardless, I can only hope this genre makes a comeback in the near future, because for how iconic, innovative, and stylish these games really are, they deserve to have a proper return to form these days, as they were some of the most enjoyable games for me to play as a kid, and even now as an adult. And I wish it all the best in the near future, because truthfully, only time will tell how this genre evolves in the coming years, and I truly believe that if enough time and care are given to these games, something special could truly arise in this gaming genre, and I'm all but sure of it.
Amazing news to end the year with as we go into 2026.
I don't think I've been this impressed by a Forza game ever.
Heart and soul have always been at the core of Tokyo Extreme Racer, and I'm happy to say that this newest iteration is no exception.
I could hear people saying, no way that you guys at Toyota could build a car like this. I will never forget that feeling of